In 1897, Elva Hester Shue was found dead in her home, apparently from natural causes. Her husband, Erasmus Shue, had sent a boy to the house to ask her if she needed anything before he came home from work, and instead he found her dead. When Dr. Knapp came to examine the body an hour or so later, Shue had already prepared it for burial. Specifically, he dressed her in a high-neck dress and placed a veil over her face. Dr. Knapp tried to examine the body, but was prevented by Erasmus, who was crying while cradling her head and wouldn't allow her head or neck to be examined. Shue became violent when the doctor tried, so Dr. Knapp left, finding nothing significantly wrong with the body from the parts he could examine. He assumed the death was related to complications from pregnancy. At the funeral, people noticed that Shue kept paying particular attention to Elva's head area and would become animated when people tried to go near it. He had wrapped a scarf around her neck that didn't match the burial dress, but told people he wanted her buried in it because it had been her favorite. He also put things around her head, such as a pillow and a rolled-up cloth, explaining that she could now rest more comfortably in death. Mary Jane Hester, Elva's mother, was convinced that she had been murdered by her husband, but as there was no real evidence, the body was buried anyways. Mary Hester never liked Erasmus, and turned to praying that her daughter would appear to her and tell her how she had really died. Finally, after a month of praying, Hester claimed that Elva appeared to her, telling her that Erasmus had murdered her because she hadn't prepared dinner the night of her death, and he had choked her and broken her neck. Hester took her story to John Alfred Preston, the local prosecutor. Preston was unsure of Mary's evidence, but decided to ask Dr. Knapp about Elva's death. After discovering that an autopsy was never performed due to Shue becoming violent, Preston decided to reopen the case. The autopsy showed that Elva's neck had been broken in the first and second vertebrae, her windpipe was crushed, and there were indications of finger marks around her neck. During the trial, Preston avoided bringing up the testimony of the ghost because it couldn't be used as actual evidence and made Mary look insane. It was lucky for Preston, though, that Shue's attorney thought this as well and brought the ghost testimony up while cross-examining Hester in order to make her look crazy. Unfortunately for him, Mary's story was delivered with such vehemence and believability that the jury was buying it, and he quickly ended his questioning. Because the defense had brought the ghost testimony up and there was no objection from the prosecutor, the judge decided to allow it and did not tell the jury to disregard the ghost testimony. Thus, despite having no hard evidence that Shue had been involved in the murder, and the suspicious fact that the mother knew exactly how her daughter had been killed and had always hated him, he was convicted of murdering Elva and sentenced to life in prison.